Hello and welcome to this LEGO theme park disaster series where today we're going to try and bridge the gap from our medieval section to our water section. So we've got Jaws on one side, medieval on the other, and we have a bit of a problem, as we always do, hence why it is a disaster series. But this is carrying on directly from the last upload. I am literally 5 minutes from filming and finishing the Jaws bit where we've added in the boat, we've added in the shark, we put the water in, we've added in the sand, it wraps around, and then, well, it just finishes. So we need to come up with a solution to get it over to the next table. So with that being said, let's get to it. So in typical disaster series fashion, this kind of just happened. This, all the last upload was about was just putting the Jaws in place, which I think does look really, really smart up against there. And obviously we then added in the other little bits and pieces, and obviously you've just seen what we did. But I do need to see if I can wrap the water around, because I do want to have the medieval seaside markets basically wrapped behind the coaster. But I don't know if I'm going to have to build it mirrored. Now I'm doing it this way. So let me run you through the plan. Fingerprinting ready again. So we have got a medieval section going from the blue wall all the way through, and it drops down onto this table. All these boxes were literally just moved here in the last upload. The Bricklink one and the medieval one is going to stay because obviously it's a medieval table. I've literally just done the Jaws review and comparison, hence why all of that is up there. So this table has nothing on it. It's completely clear. This was going to be the last of the medieval. So we're going to go down onto this table and then we were going to stop. And then I just happened to, by mistake, create a Jaws scene where we just happened to add in a beach with the shark in the front. That's where you hire all your swimming aids and all that sort of thing from, because originally we were just going to have a little swimming pool just out the front, but now we're just going to have basically a Jaws pool where they're either going to be eaten because it's all gone wrong, or you can just chill out and swim around and do whatever else it is that you want to do. But we will be connecting everything up with a path. So like I said, this just happened to be a complete mistake. And then I was going to see if I could move these sets over by a base plate or so, and if I could get the medieval markets behind it. So it's the last of the water going into the start of the medieval. And if you look at it from the other way, it's the last of the medieval into the start of the water. So really, the water set needs to go here. It needs to go on this bit, just round on the street. And then I've just got to kind of figure out which way it's going to go. So before I even get to that point and worry about building it backwards, I've got to order the thing first. Well, I say order one, I've got to backtrack one because I've not even got one. And then we can basically figure out exactly what is going on. You still are all filthy. There we go. So this might be the camera's last outing up in here, because it is hanging on for dear life. I think we might be able to get a few more videos out of it, but it's struggling a little bit. So we basically, in the last upload, got to here. I've cleared up the bags. So the first thing I need to do is obviously get all these bits and pieces up off the floor, tidy up the Super Mario bits and pieces, and then just see what we can do. So this is kind of going to be over multiple days, I think. So I'm just going to do it stage by stage by stage, because we're going to be doing this after work during the week, and it'd just be a nice little fun project to come back to and do. It's just, what do I use? I'm sure I have got spare table legs. I'm sure I've got at least 4 of these. So if I've got spare table legs, I might be able to, I don't know if I can bodge the 55 by 55 centimetre table. I need to overlap it so it's sort of stepped up, so the water's higher than the rest of the bits and pieces that is on the rest of this table. So it sort of gives us, it just gives us a few levels, because I want a clear divide from the end of the medieval into this Jaws sort of like the water. So it's the start of the water scene. So it kind of makes sense that even though it's medieval, it's still a little bit a fractional higher. And of course, this is a full-blown theme park, so it is all going to be linking up with paths and everything else. And in case you are watching both these uploads back to back because you are that bored, I have found the bit that pinged off in the review, and I will add it to the rest of them that have fallen off, because I don't know what it is with me, but they always do. And now that is now actually its home, I can just fix all of that up and it's just going to stay there. Because we, like I said in the last upload, we're going to go Jaws into piratey One Piece bits and pieces, so One Piece and other pirate stuff, and then it wraps around to the Ninjago backdrop with the bigger boats in front. Obviously that huge thing is going to go in that middle bit just there, and obviously that's going to be built over a period of time, because that is well, it's a monster, isn't it? Let's be honest. And we're just bouncing between sticking on this side of the room for the foreseeable future until we get updates of future Lego sets of the Harry Potter or Marvel stuff, and then I can figure out what we're going to be going on from there. So yes, I don't know whether to have it stepped. So what I mean by that is that when this set does come about, we have it so it's on legs. Again, it could be a 55cm table, and it is just resting like so, because I could just put the legs underneath, fills the gap, and then that is just, it's just a little bit higher. Ideally I don't want it on this table, I just want it higher, and it's just sort of stepped over, so it's just this bridge that I want to do. But we did have a look at, where is that 16 by 16 gone? I've just done some shorts. Where are we there? So we're going to come out probably just 16. This is a 32, obviously. So we'll come out half of that, wrap it round there, and then we'll come to that table, which, to be honest, if I can actually move it over by a couple of studs, it'll be 32, which might be a little bit easier. But there's always a problem, hence why this is a theme park disaster series. We've already put this down underneath here, and I think that back table leg is as far over as it will go. I don't think I can physically get that over anymore because of the way these are sat on. Now I might be lucky, I might be able to, but the only problem is it would involve me, I think, potentially moving everything, because I don't know how much space I've got against that wall. So if I create a 32 base plate space, well, that's obviously where the Seaside market would fit in, because it's 32, it's obviously a base plate deep, and then it's on a big L shape, isn't it? So it's sort of, I've just got to figure out which way I'm going to have it wrapping around. So I don't know whether to have water, just water, and then it starts here and it wraps around that bit. I think I'm going to have to build it the wrong way round for that to happen. So it'll be full length down here, and then it goes across the back. But again, if I can just have that a little bit higher, and then this would all be green forest, different Bricklink Castle sets with some of the green stuff from over there. But that is the plan for this video. It's a long-winded way of me getting around it, but yes, it's going to be done in stages. And the first thing I need to do is tidy up the floor. So I'm not going to bore you with me picking up all these bits and pieces. What I should have done is tidy up the floor as I was explaining what was happening. That was my original idea. I could have just tidied it up while talking to you. Now I've already told you what's going to be happening, and I just need to pick these bits and pieces up. So what I will do is I will tidy up these bits and pieces now, and then I'll catch back up with you either later on today or tomorrow. Right, that literally took about 30 seconds. I just pushed it all the way over to give it a vacuum. Battery's dead. The charger is plugged in. I can't be bothered, so I'm just going to do that later on in the week. I'm far too tired and enjoying myself far too much to worry about little things like that. So I have got the Bricklink picture up on my phone, and I'll see what you can see now. And I think it might work in our favour. There's potential for it to work in our favour, maybe. It very, very, very much depends on how we're going to put it. Because this being the shape that it is, we could potentially have the back of the castle here, and that's where it finishes, and then the L basically kicks in, so we see the back of the castle there, and obviously you can see the front, and then we don't go that far down, so I don't actually have to bridge the full gap. Of course, if it is how it is on the box, now the full length is going that way, and it actually kicks that way at the back, so it would be fully open. It would then allow us, which is what I want, to see the back of the castle. So I do quite like the back of the castle going into the front. Now, the one way it won't work is the back of the castle this way going into the front, because of how that L is. So if I wanted the back of the castle, where are we? So I'm looking at the photo, just obviously I'm not going to keep boring you with it. The L would have to kind of go the other way for it to work, because yes, it would go full lengthways that way or that way. If it was picked up and spun round, we could have it sort of that way. But if it was spun all the way, no, it might. We might be able to have the back all the way here, and then the L. Does it kick that way or not? So it's a corner, isn't it? So one bit's going to go that way and one bit's going to go that way. So if the water's on the other side, we can just feed it into the water, and then the back of the castle is the back of the castle, then you go into the forest. So I'm going to have to fill in all of that table gap, because the other thing is that if it doesn't work going as a reverse L, which I'm trying to picture if it would actually work that way, because what would you have? You would have the length here and then the narrow bit there, wouldn't you? I think. Oh, my brain hurts. I think that would be the case. So it would be stepped off. It's only a base plate deep, but if it doesn't matter how long it is, because it would just be floating over this, and we'll be starting from here. So if it is going to go that way, I will have to go all the way back. If we have it how it is on the box, where it kicks in and goes into the medieval section, not towards the roller coaster way, then it depends on, well, where does it start? Because if it started up here, then obviously it's going to go back 2 base plates and kick across, so it would actually end up on this table, which I don't think would be as good. I think that visually, I think that'd be best. Back of the medieval for the back of the medieval, water into the water, if it would fit that way. And if it doesn't fit that way, I'm going to have to try and make it fit. So I'm going to have to come out then a base plate and a half, not 16 studs. So if that's the case, like there's your base plate. So it's a base plate and a half. So if the set was just here and it was tucked to it, we could just trickle the water. We could just trickle the water in. I'm only running all these scenarios over my head because I don't want to screw in all the legs, and we don't need to go all the way to the back. But I think it might just be best to do it, and then it's just extra space for the future, because yeah, I'm sure that would be the way. Because it would just be the full length that way of the back, and then the narrow. Right, honestly, I'm going around in circles trying to figure this out. I've just started to watch a review from Alex, who is an amazing YouTuber. Got it straight on the table for his review, and I can see straight away that it would go that way, and it could kick in that way, and it would be the back of the castle, which would be great. So it'd have the back of the castle here, the back of the castle going down that way, and then the water feeds into the water. Obviously doing that, it then just means, well, how deep do I come? Because I was only going to come 16 studs, but obviously that sets 32, and then you need, I was going to say, you need then space for studdage to feed it, but I don't think you would do, because it goes that way and it's open. So as it comes that way and it then wrapped round, you would probably just then feed whatever angle it gives. You would then I'd just be able to kick out and just do the opposite with the water. So it's just going to be 2 reverse L's. Of course, I could go have it here and then coming across on that table, but I don't think that would work. That would work as nicely. So what I am going to do, because I know what's going to happen, is I'm just going to keep thinking about this and just not focus on anything else. I'm going to pay a lot more attention to this review video, because looking at that right now, if I was to pick this up and spin it round the other way, the flags would be here, and then the red bit would be here. So I think the way the flags are, you would then see the front door, and then on this bit you would see the little bits and pieces, and it does look like you, to connect everything up, do have space for the 16, potentially 16 studs. So I would just have to get creative with regards to where it actually starts to where it kicks round as that L shape, I think. Nope, wrong way. I'm talking absolutely nonsense, because it will be the other way. So I think I'd have the flags here, and then the other bit would kick down there. So I'd have the entrance to it here. So I could actually pin it up quite tight. Yeah, you can see how this is going to get tricky. We don't have the set, and my head hurts. So rather than just going round and round and round in circles, over this week, I'm going to do plenty of research into which way that thing can go. I think that is the right way, so I'm just tripping over myself. I'll clear the Super Mario stuff tomorrow. That can just go with the new Super Mario bits and pieces that are down over there, so that's okay. And of course we've got our Super Mario section going in within the modular buildings, which would look nice. And then I am just going to probably now just fill the whole gap up, but I just need to figure out, I think if I give myself a base plate and a half, yeah, it's either I need to give myself a base plate and a half of space, or the L is obviously just attached to it. So if it's just attached to it, this part is going to be, I don't know if it's a full, I'm assuming it's a full base plate. I'm assuming it's a full base plate all the way around. So it's got to be. So I'm going to have to give myself a base plate and a half with water to feed it. But I'll get my head around it, and I'll worry about it over the week. Gives me something to look forward to anyway. But yes, I'll get the Super Mario bit done, get that out of the way, get that tidy, freeze up all that space, because of course the Rivendell is just underneath that. Yeah, figure out how and what we can do with whatever we can do, because it's literally just that gap. So it's going to overhang, or if I try and create the 32 space, which, yeah, I don't want the water, basically I want the water here, don't I? That's where I'm going to want it if it's coming around this corner. So it isn't going to go that far that way, I don't think. But that is going to be a future problem. My problem right now is getting rid of this headache and thinking of it through a little bit more cleverly, and I'll catch back up with you tomorrow. So today is a new day. I've just started to move some of the Super Mario boxes. It's literally the following day. I'm going to try and do something every other day if I can. In the evening up in here, obviously all to do with this project. Now, I was messing around and faffing around with regards to angles of those, and I think it will work. I think it will just be the back, and it should be good and tickety-boo. But I have come up with an idea, which is deadly. Because at one point, way back when, I had 3 tables on this side, because the roller coaster table was spun the other way, and then there's another one, then there was this one. And I need to just measure up. Basically, if I was to spin that round, because it's, I would say, I need to measure up to see where it comes to. It's going to come to here. So the reason why I swapped it is because it just makes this bit really tight. So I thought if I could spin the table, round, I could just have all three tables side by side. I'll just get another table, and it expands it by a huge bit, rather than sort of trying to faff around with this gap. Because the base plate adds on another 10 inches. So yeah, you can see just how you walk in, because you come up into the loft. That table there is where it is, and obviously we've got that in. So if this was spun round, what I don't know, what I was going to measure is I don't know how wide it is in total. So if I go from the wall, be nice. Thank you. If I go from the wall, so we're 2 meters 50. 2 meters 50. So these are 1 meter by 60, aren't they? So yeah, another table, it gives me 10. It basically gives me a little bit of wiggle room, but not too much. But I just don't know if I want another table there. I was almost thinking of, you can't really spin that one round and stagger it, because it would be then 1 meter 20 in, and then sort of creating, I can't do that either. Just off, basically. I don't know if I spun this table round, so it's completely, it doesn't solve this issue, but if I spun this table round, this table would actually fit underneath this. We'd then have the legs probably either side of one of the Lord of the Rings sets, which isn't too much of a problem. But if it fits, I don't know whether I could have another table in from that and going down, so the table kind of finished around where this blue bit is, so you can still get up and be okay with it. Now obviously I've got a table top. It's just a lot of faff if it's not going to work. I really don't know if I can be bothered, because that's where the table legs are spare from. I've got 8 table legs. I've got 4 table legs for this, and I snapped the table in half. So I have lost tables up here, but obviously we're going underneath and giving myself a little bit more floor space. But if you remember, there was a table that was here, that had the original Ninjago display on, and then this side did have 3. So I need to look on IKEA, good old trip to IKEA, and just figure out what is doable, because if this tabletop was to there, that is never going to fit in a million years, because I'm going to kill myself. But if to damage everything, let's just clear this off, and we'll just use this tabletop. I could bridge the gap down the front, so it's to there, that is a very, very narrow space, which, don't get me wrong, you still got plenty of space coming through, but this bit is a little bit tight, and also I can't do the reviews or anything like that, but that's because we're 1.20 meters in, not a meter. But it still doesn't solve the problem of that bit there. So maybe, rather than thinking about putting a whole new table in and just getting the configuration in, there is something that might work, and I've got it in the back of my truck. I picked it up from Jay's Toy Collection UK, something that he did not want, and I know it's still in there. I just wonder if I could screw the legs to it, and if it would actually bridge that gap. I don't know how long it is. I will grab it, we will see, then I'll have another think about it, and then later on in the week might end up screwing it together and seeing what's what. Right, this is the piece in question. I got it ages ago. I completely forgot it was in the back of my truck up until today, to be honest, when I moved some bits and pieces around. So it's this. Nice and simple to possibly the right shape. Because what are we? It's 2 base plates. They need to be cut. That's not horrendous. Now, if it would fit in that gap, it would make my life a lot easier. But I don't know if it will. But the nice thing is, because it's wood, I can screw it anywhere with the legs, and I can cut it any way I want to. I could cut it straight down the middle, all the way down. I could then potentially bring the other piece around, because it's an insert, I do believe, from the coffee table. I think that's what this is from. It's just the middle shelf from that. Definitely too. Shame, because it doesn't overhang. I got that tucked in there. No, I don't think I could. I don't know. I don't know whether, before I even attempt to cut it, is screw the legs on and just see what it's like with that length, because there's plenty of walkway around, and I've still got that walkway here. It's just that I don't know, I want to crack my head on this corner, crunch and crack every single time. But if that was to happen, it kind of gives me the best of both worlds, because we get another 2 base plates in depth. I don't actually know how many base plates you can fit on this, to be honest. Is it 2? It's definitely, that's 1.5. No, 1 3/4 base plates is what you can do, and that's 32, 16, 16. That's another 32. That's 2, 3. Oh, perfect length for 3.5. So 7. We've got another 7 base plates of on this top when it's all in and done. I have absolutely no idea what order to do this in. I don't know whether to try and get the set, build it, see how much space it takes up, and then just push it back in that way more. But I think I am going to just screw some legs onto this. I probably just need to put 2 on, just keep it resting on this table. Screw 2 legs onto this, figure out exactly where we want to come to with regards to where does it start, because if it was just there to there, so again it would stop at where the table, obviously the gap is, so this bit wouldn't be on the table. That's further away because the water would just drop off and come down. Gives a different dynamic to it. And if I was to measure this cut, because we only need a base plate depth, so we'd have that much extra than a base plate to cover that gap up, so I could potentially go that way a little bit. I don't know if this is a stupid way of doing it or not, but I'll re-grab the tape measure, I'll grab the legs, and we'll have a little bit of a play with it later on in the week. Right, today is a new day, and I'm not going to lie, it is a very, very hot one. We've got some spare batteries, so I'm going to keep rotating the batteries as we go, because I do not want another one to give up. So if I start to change the same colour of my t-shirt, just ignore my face, basically. Right, so I have come up with a couple of different ideas, and I have actually got the measurements for the Seaside market. I've actually got them from the Bricklink thing. I've seen a couple of reviews from it. I haven't seen them on the base plates, but you can see roughly how long they are and the shape that I want to do. I think it'd be fine to go out on that bit, and obviously the further it is that way, the more it will push in that way. So it should have enough. The one thing that I am concerned of is if I want a full base plate of space, because I think really there should be a base plate depth here. Now, to get that, this has to move that way, or we have to go that way ever so slightly, because we do have a little bit of space there. Now, I haven't added in the path and everything underneath. If, when it comes around to me doing the Beauty and the Beast castle, if I can move it over ever so slightly, it's just that foot. If I can move that back leg over ever so slightly, we should be absolutely fine, because then we know that we've got a full base plate in depth, because the set's not going to be more than a base plate in depth, and then we've got the length and everything else, and it just gives us that opportunity then to have that basically as extra space. Now, I have been umming and ahhing with different bits and pieces to do, obviously. I bet you lot are going, yeah, it's just these amount of base plates, and you're screaming at me because you know what it is. I can't find it. I've got the actual measurements. I just don't have the exact which way. Now on the Bricklink Designer program, I am assuming they've gone length, width, height, because the thing that I really don't like is that they have just got 17 by 19 by 13.2. It doesn't say height, width or length on there. So I'm assuming it's 17 inches one way, 19 inches the other, and it's 32 inches in height. So it's going to be over 4 base plates, because each base plate is 10 inches. So I think I would have it, the way I think it'll be is the longer bit will be to where you are now. So that'll be the 19.8. So that's 2 base plates that way. So I've just got to come back, basically a base plate backwards from the old fishing stall, and then we come across, and because that's a base plate and a half for the water, I think it'll be close, because it should feed in to there anyway, so it shouldn't matter, because it would just go into the water. It might be slightly longer. Now, we have got a couple of different options. Those options are obviously the table that we were messing around with the other day, or we've got the inserts, which are a slightly smaller shape, which potentially could do the trick. Now, I think they'll be the right depth, but I don't know if they're going to be the right length coming from the water over. I've got the legs, So I've got these. So there is very much of a potential, be stupid, that I could screw the legs to this either side, then get the next set of legs and overlay them, and we could go down or up. And again, with this top, ideally I don't want to cut it because it could be very, very handy for the Star Wars sci-fi sort of section that's going to be further out. I could go off and get some timber, but it's just more fun you watching me struggle, and I've got the stuff here and it's kind of not going to cost anything, is it? So I'd rather spend the money on the Lego than everything else. But I've got the screws if I need them, I've got the drill if I need it. But then I thought about this, and I have got a couple of spare ones of these. So the actual sizing, the sizing of this, because this is a slightly different shape, this is 13 by 15. So 13 by 15, and that's the wrong one, is, it should be fine, because like I said, it's going down the other way. So I need to work out if it will fit as the L. I'm not concerned about how far it's going to step out from the table, because we're going past that corner. If we're going directly behind the old fishing store, it would obviously stick out 2 base plates, and then this wouldn't be deep enough. I'm doing it, not only am I doing it backwards the box, I'm also displaying it that way, not that way. So I think I'm starting to get my head around it. Now obviously I could go in a straight line, which looks like it's 64.6 in length. So that's a lot of length, 64, which could just be that long length, but I want it as a corner just to be awkward. So if we are going, where are we? The original version in inches, we're going 17, so that's 15. So 15, where does 15 take us to? So from there to there, all level and tickety-boo. That is not by the water, so that will carry on to the water. Now I can't get 2 of those in there, so I'm going to have to do something anyway. And this that way obviously won't fit across, because it is obviously wider than 10 inches, because we are 3 inches more than a base plate, and I haven't got 3 inches to go that way. So this would have to be trimmed regardless, going that way, unless I can just put it underneath the table. I can get it underneath the table like that and screw it up either with a bracket. I just don't know how badly these things are going to cut, but I can try it. I could cut this to 10 and commit to moving the rest, and then basically screw it all together. But I think the bit that gets cut off here would then attach to the bit on this side, so that might give us the extra length that we need, because we are, that's the long bit, so 15. So where's 18 from here? So 18 takes us just to the inside of the water. So I need 22. I'm 22 inches off, and I'll be another, what are we? I can go another 2 inches. So we will be looking at 22, 20, 24. So it's 2 foot. 2 foot in length is what I need. So it's almost, I went that way. Because that's scary really. But this, if I put them in the other way, so I came all the way out to that corner, from the table, put the legs on it, it's literally perfect, look. And if I had 2 of those, that's exactly where it would be, because we would just go to where my hand is. So there's my finger, we are going there. So it just goes past it. but then it obviously sticks out that way, so I don't want that. I don't want it to stick out as much. Just trying to get away with doing as least amount of cutting as possible. Now we know that this should cut, but I really don't know if these will. They're going to be covered in base plates anyway, and I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem. I don't think I've got any other sheets or anything hard enough to screw into. So that is the plan of attack at the moment. I have got 3 of these spare. I think 6 legs would do it, because we'd have 2 legs this end. Or would it do it? No, I need 2 more legs. Because you connect the next, maybe just 1 leg in the middle to connect the 2, then you'd have 2 more, then you'd have 1 more. And then that would take us that way as well. I do these stupid things, but yeah, like I said, I don't really want it, because that's the depth I want it, really, there to there. I don't want it that way, because it'll just stick out too much. So that steps in. That gives me plenty of space, I think. Gives us a little bit more than I want, but yeah, we'll see. So I am going to take these outside and cut them, because it's just far too hot in here. I'm going to keep telling you on and off, so this part is going to be a little bit choppy, because it's unreal. Then I'll see what I can do about screwing them together. And then, yeah, we're going to have to move that table. If I commit to this, we're going to have to move that table over, or it really overlaps the other bit, which I just don't like the look of. I do not like the look of. So I just need to figure out which is the easy way of going. Because if I move that way, I'm going to lose space. There's only margins. If I go this way, it's just the eyeball, I think, that I just need to shunt over to the corner of the black, and I think we might be all right. So I might have a bit of a play with that off camera. I might do it in a different upload. I don't know if I can do it in a different upload. It might be done in this upload. It might be very, very painful. There's definitely going to be tears. But I'll start cutting, and basically we're just going to see what we're going to get to in this upload. Right, so the DIY is continuing, but I haven't started to cut for a very simple reason of I just want to see actually what it looks like together first, and then I'll trim it down. We know it can go one way, I just don't know about the other. So all I'm going to do is overlap the leg. I've just got one in. I thought, well, I might as well just get the rest of the legs, and I have found some more. So I've got 2 tables. So there's 1 leg, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there's 8 legs. There's an 8th leg somewhere. Which is obviously in with the others. I just didn't bring that one. Up because well, I miscounted, which is ingenious. So we will have this leg will attach to the next one, but because I've got these extra legs, I think I can go 2. But I just want to do 1 for now with 1 screw, just to see which way goes where, and then I think the next one, before I start to get too carried away, will go here with an overlap, because when it spins around the other way, that's where that one's got to go. So like I said, I'm doing everything upside down, backwards, and basically inside out. And then yeah, we'll see what we can do. But you've got to be so careful when you put these in, especially with an impact, because you're not screwing in so much. So these basically, what's going to stop these from snapping is when the weight of the sets are on it. Right, everything that could go wrong is going wrong. It's so hot, this is just shut off, but I have managed just to basically screw the 2 together. I tried to be fancy with bits and pieces, and I just knew it was going to rip out when you turn it over. Because don't forget, I'm not drilling into wood. It's just that weird and wonderful stuff. So start off with the 2 legs in the middle, and then I'm just going to see if I can just prop the other 2 legs up. Now, to be honest, I am very, very tempted just to get a longer screw and go down and through, as long as I can go through to the metal, and the base plates will just cover it, because these screws are tiny, but they're still that little bit too long. So if I was to put the base plates on them now, it wouldn't work. But what I am going to do, like I said, if I'm repeating myself, I'm sorry, because I've already said this, is that it's going to get flipped over, so we're going to see exactly where it comes to. I'm just going to keep it there and see if I can live with it. Now, there's absolutely no point me cutting it until I know I can move the table, because if I can't move the table, then I'm going to have to cut it differently. So I don't want to do 2 cuts. And obviously, if I can get away with cutting it and give myself more space and yada, 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 that's absolutely fine. So I've just overlapped the legs, so you screw both in. And obviously, what I need to do is, when this flips over, doesn't really make a difference now, because I haven't got the legs on. This side, if I just flip it over to myself, will just have the 2 legs on as normal, but they'll just be somewhere, because this will potentially be too long and I end up cracking my head on it. If I can get away with it, and I'm gonna just leave it for a few days, walk up and down the loft ladders with like a tub that I need to take down, some boxes and other little bits and pieces. If I get nowhere near it and I've got enough swing to get around it, then it's fine. Because like I said, I don't stand here where I am now. I always stand a little bit further back. And then obviously the bit towards you will just be overlapped how I've just done these two, put another 2 legs on the inside. I found all the legs now, so I've got plenty of legs. It's just a case of getting some shorter screws, or a better way of actually putting these together with brackets. But yeah, we'll see, because these tiny little screws are just too long. And like I said, I'm not going into wood, so I don't particularly want to get a little sheet of timber to go over the top of it and then screw into that. So yeah, this is just a very, very rough template, and then we can carry on, because like I said, I don't have the set here, but these are, he says, screwed in enough, but you can see that they've all just come through ever so slightly, which I knew they would before you start to say anything. Right, so that is where that is going to be too. So if I can just lean you there, we'll angle him for now. So this is it. This is the extension. Now that is too long. That's too tight now. That's far too long. I'm gonna trip over that, and it's all gonna go a little bit wrong. So that is gonna have to be trimmed to there, and then that should be absolutely fine, because obviously it's coming out deeper than the base plate I said it was going to. So I don't know whether I could keep the full length and cut both of them across, or what we can do, because as we know from the ones underneath, these are about base plate and a half deep. So if I start at that end, then don't forget, obviously this will be raised up with the wood underneath to be level with both. So it's literally a fraction at the moment, as we know. There's just over two base plates and a bit is where that is gonna be, and it's gonna get marked from there, because yeah, I don't think when I start coming up, I think that's just gonna be too. It's just going to be too much. Now, if I can, obviously the easiest thing is not to have this bit at all, and it feeds in, and I just try and figure out how I can get the water, maybe as just off this bit, a couple of bits in, then it feeds in, so it's actually just coming off the edge of that table, and then I know I've got absolutely no worry getting in and out, because again, what I don't want to do is cut this back and then think, oh, actually it just eats into the space too much. So maybe what I do need to think of is it potentially going that way, because if it's this dimension, let me get those dimensions out again with regards to the base plate so we can see. So it's 17. So we know base plate's 10. So 17 is to the inside of that. So I don't know if it can it really overhang by 7? I think it can. But it wouldn't overhang by 7 inches if I move the table over that way by a few, because that's going to go over by 2 inches. So can I get a 5-inch overhang off the end of that, and will it break? Because we can definitely make the corner, because obviously I can just keep saying to you, just do what I've done now, just put the next one down that way and it will be fine, and then this will just be cut to fit. But maybe until the set's here, I don't know how much to cut that back. So I can literally just take this one apart now, figure out what is going on that way, get that table over that way, pick up the set. There's a plan in place for us, and then basically install this when the set's here. And then if I've completely fluffed it up, I can then correct myself when it's there. So let me know, because I think this video will go live before I've actually got the set, so you guys and girls can help which way to go. But that's the only thing I can think of doing, unless we go back to this idea and we actually do cut it. It'll be easier to screw the bits into this, because obviously it's wood all the way through, and there's potential that I can, well, it is potential that I can just cut this to the 10 to basically I can cut it exact. So that could be cut exact, and then these things, which would be very, very handy, could be used underneath, because they would carry on with the same bit, because I can just cut that out with a handsaw and just basically draw the lines that I need to draw. Because I would go all the way back that way, come out with base plate obviously, and then go across just over a base plate. Yeah, because if that was to the inside of that and it stepped in more, I would have that space as walking as well. But like I said, it's only here I stand to get up and back down again. Well, it's food for thought. It's not actually how I thought I was going to end the video, but I think that is the most logical way of doing it. Now I've seen it, there's no point trying to cut something to fit that's just imaginary, because more than likely what the easiest thing to do is attach this piece, put the table that goes across, stand it up so there's more room, because I don't know if it will fit as the L shape where I'm stood. Get all the legs on, so we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oof. I need 9 legs. I think I only got 8, so I have to sort of play that game as we go, because we want 2 there. I might just actually be able to get 1 in the middle at the back, so that should be all right. And I might actually just be able to get 1 in the middle here. I might actually just, again, 1 in the middle just there as well, because it's just to prop it up. I'll put another one there, so I'll put 2 there, 2 there, 2, 4, 5. Overhangs connecting is 6, 7. So yeah, maybe that's it, because it might not be wide enough. Put it on the table, put the base plates on it, put the set on it, and see what it looks like. Mark it, and then cut it to fit, take it apart and put it back together. Oh, well, we have a plan. We've bridged the gap, we know how we can do it. I think we'll go back to that style, because I think it would just be a little bit more sturdy than this. And then also, like I said, these can be used wherever that they need to be used, which would be fantastic. And then yeah, we can just carry on playing the game as we go. If you've got any other ideas of what you think I could use, I know you can just get some timber and just do it whatever, but because I've got the legs and got this here, that is is deep enough. Yeah, because again I keep looking at it backwards. So you would have it there, and then you've got the 2 base plates on that bit. Because I think if I have it 2 base plates this way, you're going to go 1 base plate that way. I think. God, it's so difficult to figure out with how much that middle bit takes up. But at least now I can visually see that would be the back, and then it goes down there. And that's where it would feed into, and that's the, at the moment, that's the overhang, which is huge. Well, it's not that big, because that's 2 base plates, that's 20, and it's 17. And then move it over 15, 14. Right, I will work a little bit more out on camera. I'm going to get some air, let this cool down, and then figure out where we're going to be going to next. At least you can see there's a plan. I need more blue. Actually, that's the thing. I don't actually know how many base plates I need for this, because it takes it up and then it's got its own. So I don't know if I'm going to have to sit it on blue so it's all covered. So if that's the case, I need to basically have another 2 or 3 blue, 4 blue. So I don't know if I just sit it on the blue base plates, so then it's all matching, or what. After all this time of trying to figure it out, I still can't visualize fully what it's going to look like, but I think it should be okay. So if you could like this video and subscribe to the channel. I know this has just been one of those, but we've done something. We have a template in place, and yeah, I'll get the set ordered, figure out how it is actually going to sit in. I'm sure there's got a lot of tweaks that we're going to have to do, and then we can just go from there. But if you could like the video and subscribe to the channel, that'd be absolutely fantastic. But as always, thank you very much for watching. You lot take care, and I'll see you next one.